Attack on Titan, Season 4, Episode 2, Midnight Train. The episode starts with the general discussing how they wasted time with Parody, that failure of a mission 4 years ago. Their two battle titans, the Beast and the Armor Titan, were almost destroyed by the enemy's fleet, which resulted in widespread news covering the fact that human ingenuity has surpassed the power of titans. Even though the Mid-East forces lost against Marley, the media has been praising them for the fact that they have created technology that can combat the titans. Naturally, the general feels this to be a loss for Marley. They need to dominate. The strength of the titans is important, but also the idea that they are an insurmountable force is of the utmost importance for Marley. Their titan powers can be used as a deterrent against other nations. But with this new battle and the new waves made by technological advancements in weaponry, the sense of titans being undefeatable has been completely eliminated from the minds of the public. The general knows that, hence why he asks Magath if he sees this as a Marleyan victory. Magath states that it is true. Humanity has eclipsed the power of the titans. It's interesting to see Magath now in a subservient role after last episode where he was the superior, the highest in the hierarchy on the battlefield. Now we see the general, the man whose rank is above even Magath. We all have someone as our superior. Magath doesn't sound surprised though. They've relied heavily on the power of the titans to further their interests, and naturally their opposition have adapted and evolved in order to counteract that power. If you do not adapt, you will perish. They've been fine in terms of fighting on land, but eventually their enemies' aircrafts will advance and pose a threat with potential airborne bombings. Just as Magath says this, the shadow of a bird crosses him, and the rest of the men at the table, including Magath, stare up at the sky. Note how Colt remains steadfast with his posture. He doesn't look up, nor is he distracted. He knows his role here. He's merely a potential warrior. He's not a warrior yet like Zeke. He is unwavering and will not react to every little thing. Even though it seems like nothing here, I think it's another example of his spirit and resolve. Anyways, birds! Once again, we get bird imagery. The last 3 episodes, yes, including the final episode of Season 3, showed at least one bird in the sky. The wings of freedom. Birds flying in the air. Hell, we even got a new character that's named after a bird. Isayama really loves his birds. Keep all of this in mind. What does it mean? To be free? To be powerful? To be content? The general then asks, do we not have any titans with wings? As if your army isn't OP enough. Can't you just develop anti-aircraft weapons or something? Once again, Magath is about to state the obvious, something that I've stated and alluded to several times already. The general cuts him off, telling him that he knows and that they will lose their initiative in war. Wishful thinking, perhaps they already have. The general relents that they have somewhat fallen from grace from their ancestors. Then Zeke asks permission to speak. He knows his role. Magath is higher than him and the general is even higher than Magath. Look at Colt, still looking forward. The general gives Zeke permission to speak. Zeke says that they should retry to take the power of the founding titan. Colt looks at Zeke, but I don't know if this was deliberately done by the animators or not, as he's once again staring straight in another frame. Zeke explains that their army needs time to restructure, and that they need the media outlets of the world to further the idea of Marleyan dominance and supremacy. That can only be achieved if they have successfully captured the founding titan, and therefore have access to the power of all titans. This could be crucial for the Marleyan army in order to maintain their place at the top. The general confirms to the viewer that Zeke has little time left, just 1 year to be exact. Zeke doesn't feel Colt will be able to fully inherit the powers, leaving Colt surprised at Zeke's lack of confidence in him. The general wishes to hear of Zeke's resolve to make up for his failure 4 years ago, and Zeke confirms that's what he wishes, to bring an end to the sick exploits of Grisha Jaeger. Zeke refused to even call him his father. He just refers to him as his actual name, showing the disconnect he has with his biological father. And this is amplified further, with Zeke stating himself to be Grisha's former son. He no longer even sees himself as Grisha's son. A great and powerful statement before the opening starts. Once again, I have no problems with the actual song and I'm liking it more and more, but that doesn't change the fact that I feel the opening is lacking in visuals. It just doesn't look memorable. Now there are some good visuals, but it is lacking when you compare them to other openings from the series. That's a fact. Zeke apologizes to Colt for what he said about him, but he had to say it in order for them to be permitted to renew their mission. Colt understands this and is quick to show he has no hard feelings about it, but yet his admiration for Zeke has deepened. To think that an Eldian would be heard by the general. Colt has so much admiration for Zeke that he compares him to the founding titan. There hasn't been a beast titan like him. But why is that? Colt wonders what makes Zeke so special. He's not of royal blood, but we all know Zeke is of royal blood. His mother Dina was from the royal family. He has royal blood within him, and that's what makes him special. Zeke says that Colt will find out everything once he inherits his memories through consuming him and becoming the beast titan. But then he is careful to not make it seem like a legitimate secret by making a joke. Colt will find out the truth truth eventually, if all goes as planned. Magath appears, having just briefly eavesdropped on their conversation. Zeke's carefulness was the right decision here. Magath decides to spark up as well, and Colt wastes no time to serve his superior by lighting his cigarette for him. Ah, what a nice subordinate. Magath asks Zeke if he can pull this off within a year, but the truth is, that's all the time he's got. So he has to get it done within a year. But none of the scout ships that went to Paradis have returned. Magath asks Zeke what he thinks happened, to which Zeke correctly states that the waters near Paradis are being watched by Eren and another Titan, that other Titan being the colossal Titan Armin. Instead of explaining it himself, Magath asks Zeke for his input, as a true commander does, to gauge the thoughts of his subordinates. However, it's not just the Titans that they have to be worried about, but also the two Ackermans that wield great power as well. I love this transition, showing how Zeke was talking about them, to then it forming as a dream for Reiner with him yelling as he awakens. He awakes, and Porco Galliard is beside him, munching on some food and writing. Reiner thanks Galliard for how he saved him, but Galliard tells him not to thank him. They competed for the ownership of the Armored Titan, and Galliard remarks that none of this would have happened if he was the Armored Titan. His brother wouldn't have died, and they would have successfully completed the mission. He knows that his older brother Marcel saved Reiner from seeing Ymir's memories, confirming that Ymir is now dead. Ymir was fed to Galliard in order for him to obtain the Jaw Titan. I just think it would be bizarre to obtain the memories of someone that ate your brother. To have that in your head would be a curse, but Galliard seems to be calm and collected. I'm not a fan of Ymir's death being off-screen, especially with her story being so interesting and intricate, but oh well, we can't always get what we want. It is what it is. Galliard is not impressed by how Reiner behaved on the island, how he acted like a reliable person, and Galliard believes he was pretending to be like Marcel. In comes Pieck. Peek? Pieck? I mean, her name is spelled P-I-E-C-K, so my mind wants to say Pieck. But peak it is, I guess. She was in her Cart Titan form for 2 months and serves in this scene to end any potential escalation to Galliard and Reiner's situation. She tells Reiner that he should see Gabby and the others, to which he agrees and departs. Peak and Galliard hope that they won't have to fight for a while. We'll see how long their respite will last. Moving over to the Fab Four, constantly thinking about the war effort, Udo shows his worry with the news of the Titans' power and influence diminishing, and what it could mean for the warrior unit and the Eldians as a whole, as the four of them look off into the water. With this show, the other side of the water always seems like freedom, because whichever character it may be, the land from which they view the water is always the land from which they are shackled and controlled. But beyond the water is true freedom, or that's what they'd like to believe. But it's nothing more than false hope. There are empires everywhere, and where there are empires, there's politics, ambition, imperialism, betrayal, conflict, war, death. Not much different than our world. Gabby is visibly worried about Reiner, and Falco is quick to comfort her, but let's pause for a moment and look at what Susie is saying. I just love how she goes from listening to Udo being genuinely concerned to then mentioning something like that. I found it to be pretty funny. Gabby says she knows, but she's worried. She just doesn't want to admit it. The four kids notice surviving members of the Mid-East forces being loaded onto a boat. They will go back to their homes with PTSD and will tell their people about the horrors of the Titans, which will only fuel more hatred towards the Eldians. I just love how dramatic Udo gets and how his friends barely even react. Gabby's not even interested and is just looking off to the side, but her mood changes instantly when Reiner appears. Reiner understands the impact he has on these four kids. They admire him greatly, and so he must maintain a certain level of confidence and happiness around them. He can't look weak or show his own regret or PTSD that he's developed. It won't do them any good. Gabby is excited that they're all going back home to Liberio. She's eager to spend time with Reiner, but Falco, being the straight-A student and thinking more rationally than emotionally, says that Reiner should rest. That's the truth. He really should be resting, but once again, Reiner maintains his strong demeanor and tells Falco he's okay. He needs to be their rock and remain sturdy, even though on the inside he's crippling with regrets, doubts, and sadness. Although he can only maintain it for so long. As he looks at the four kids, they transform into his older comrades, Porco, Bertolt, Marcel, and Annie. He forgets where he is and tells them to wait because those friends no longer exist. Bertolt and Marcel are dead. Annie has been captured and might as well be dead. And although Porco is alive, their friendship isn't at the same level as it once was because of Marcel's death. The group departs and the scene ends with a long-haired individual watching them from a rooftop. Who is this person? Midnight train time. From all that talk about Colt being all calm and reserved, well, he needs some time to unwind, alright? He's drunk and giving Gabby her props. Colt is hypering her up to boost morale and showcase her value to the unit. Without her valiant efforts, the whole Eldian unit would have been wiped out. Their superiors are calmly sitting and drinking, but Magath lets the Eldians have their fun. He ain't no buzzkill. The warriors sit calmly, but Reiner's with the Eldians, and Falco is standing in the corner. Reiner tells Falco he's sure Gabby will be the successor to his armored titan. Falco agrees, but states that Gabby will die when she's 27, when her 13-year years are up. That is, if she doesn't die on the battlefield first. Then Reiner switches into full-on army mode and terrifies Falco. I can't help but feel bad for the kid in this scene. It's obvious to us that Reiner isn't being 100% serious, but he has to maintain a certain level of professionalism. But he's also doing this to fuel Falco further in his efforts to inherit the Armored Titan. He makes it known to Falco that he wants him to inherit it. Reiner has a soft spot for Gabby and doesn't want her to die an early death. Falco is like his brother Colt, a deep sense of duty, and that's why he wants to be the next Armored Titan. We get some information about the armbands the Eldians wear, very fascist government-esque. The gang arrives in Liberio and Colt is feeling the consequences of his decisions the night prior. Peek is the one who gave him drinks. She knew what she was doing. Zeke makes a comment as well. I enjoy scenes like this that show the regular humanity of these warriors. It's almost like we can forget about all the people they've killed when watching this. Falco watches as Gabby receives compliments from Galliard and Peek. In that moment, he thinks about how Gabby is gaining favor and thus lengthening the gap between her and Falco in their race to inherit the Armored Titan. Falco senses that and then looks at Reiner, who he knows does not wish for Gabby to inherit it. Falco knows that he must surpass Gabby and inherit the Armored Titan, not just for himself, not just for Gabby, but for Reiner as well. With all the pain Reiner has been through, he can only hope his life doesn't have to end with him knowing Gabby will have to experience that same pain. Falco wonders if Reiner has the same beliefs as him with regards to freeing Eldians from war, but he doesn't know if he can fully trust him or not, because to verbally express such thoughts would be suicide if it was said to the wrong person. The Eldians reunite with their families. This serves once again to show their humanity. They all have a family to return to. The comedic banter between Gabby and Falco, followed by the embraces between family members, mixed with the soothing and calm music, creates that positive atmosphere. Even Magath can't help but watch for a moment as the Eldians display their happiness, but at the same time, he was prepared to have all of the Eldian unit die on the battlefield with bombs strapped to their chests. I wonder what he's feeling at this moment. We see Zeke's and Aaron's grandparents, who are very proud of Zeke, but Zeke doesn't feel like he has accomplished great things yet. He knows he needs to complete that one important mission, the biggest mission. They have to capture the Founding Titan. Funny seeing Colt once again dealing with his hangover as his mother says his name in Falco's. Another comedic moment that's just once again adding onto the showcase of humanity here. These are the enemies of Eren and the team, but we are getting their perspective now. Gabby and Reiner reunite with their family. Man, look how exhausted Reiner looks. Even during this moment, where just focusing on your family would be okay, Falco still takes the time to look at the Eldian soldiers on the side. His superior, Mr. Kozlov, states that they have PTSD, and Falco is surprised that they have it as well. Kind of naive to say so. I mean, come on, Falco, of course it just doesn't take titans to cause PTSD. Any type of warfare can do that. Once again, we're presented with a complete lack of empathy by Marleyans towards Eldians, as Mr. Kozlo yells out "boom," which causes the shell-shocked Eldians to freak out. Falco is quick to assist his fellow Eldians and provide whatever comfort he can. He has a lot of the same qualities that Colt has. Both have the makings of becoming great leaders. From one boom causing horror to another boom causing happiness and pride. We hear Gabby yelling boom as she described what she did on the battlefield. I can't be the only one who felt a little bit weirded out by how happy and positive her parents were about what she did. Maybe it's because they're excited to have another warrior titan in the family, and therefore they can continue to benefit from it. Either way, it feels off-putting to hype up your 14-year-old daughter's success in warfare. Reiner's mom even shows happiness for their family since they can have two warrior titans. Gabby and Reiner are cousins, which explains further why Reiner cares more about her than the other three kids, and why he'd rather have Falco inherit the Armored Titan. Mrs. Braun even shows her hatred for the Eldian devils. Reiner gets into a long description about what it was like on the island, but he gets so entranced in it that he makes a crucial mistake by saying there were all sorts of people there. How can there be all sorts of people on an island that's supposedly populated by devils? Reiner has said something that is counter to Marleyan propaganda, and his mother knows it, as shown by her face. Even Gabby questions Reiner's wording, but Mrs. Braun is quick to reassure to her that the island is full of devils, that the Eldians in Marley are the good Eldians. Whether they truly believe it or not doesn't matter. What matters is that their Marleyan superiors think they believe it, because if they don't, then they'll be seen as traitors and turned into titans themselves. The Eldians in Marley do have genuine hatred for the parody Eldians though, because they feel that they were abandoned by them. A grim moment, and the grimness becomes amplified as we see a man commit suicide. Was it the short-haired man that Falco was comforting earlier? Everyone knows that Reiner has changed ever since coming back from parody. Gabby knows this now, since Reiner's mother told her. Gabby feels that his mother believes he's lying about something, but Gabby can't put her finger on it. Will she ever realize the truth? Reiner doesn't want her to. All the reason for her not to be the next Armored Titan. It's also confirmed that the man that committed suicide was a soldier. Death surrounds our characters, even when they're not on the battlefield. The warriors and cult meet in the war room, and Galliard is quick to note how this is a rare occasion. I love how Peek is just lying on the couch like that. She still hasn't fully adjusted to a regular human form, hence the position she's in. Zeke lets his comrades know what was discussed earlier in the episode. They need the founding titan. The rest of the world must fear the titans, and they need the media to spread that. But what's good spreading of information without a good narrator? That's where the Tiber family comes into play. They hold the Warhammer Titan, but they've never released it in enemy territory. Perhaps that will change soon. Look how tired Peek looks. Every single warrior looks exhausted. And that's what war is. War is awfully draining, especially on these Titan warriors. The Tiber family played a crucial role in causing King Fritz to flee during the Great Titan War, which has caused them to be well respected by the general public. It's important for the Tiber family to serve as the narrator for this message. Galliard has his doubts, but Reiner's all in. They don't have time on their side. At least Reiner and Zeke don't. So they'll take everything they can get. And what better timing than now? A festival is happening in Liberia with VIPs being invited from across the globe. This is their opportunity. The message is simple. Within a year, will control Paradis Island. Little do they know they're under surveillance by their superiors. Even though they have pledged their allegiance to Marley, they still pose a threat if the warriors were to ever revolt. Careful surveillance is of the utmost importance. All of their superior officers are content, but Magath is fixated on one thing Zeke said, not in this room. It was in response to Galliard asking where their superiors were. Was it Zeke's way of telling his comrades that they were being listened in on, and to therefore watch what they were saying? Is Reiner looking at the microphone from which their conversation was being recorded from? Is there a revolt waiting to happen? Is Magath just being paranoid? Reiner watches as Falco and Gabby train. Gabby's got the upper hand. Falco really needs to work hard in order to surpass Gabby and save her from the dark future that awaits them all. Reiner thinks about how he'll have to return to that island once again. The next episode looks like some good old flashbacks. We'll see Reiner training, his rivalry with Porco as they competed to become their armor titan, and a little bit of Annie and... is that Kenny? Well, there's another video, and wow, this one was longer than the last one. Less fights, more dialogue and story results in more talking for me. Hopefully I can continue to do this on a weekly basis. If you made it this far and you haven't already liked and subscribed, please be sure to do so. Follow me on Twitter and check me out on Twitch. I'm live every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. Links are in the description. Let me know what you thought of the episode, what you think is going to happen, or even what you have for breakfast. I don't know. Tell me. Tell me anything you want. It doesn't matter. And I'll see you on the flip side.